Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Mike DeHaan and Dan Austin. From wins, losses, horror stories, and tactics for optimizing your business, Mike and Dan take a real, uncensored deep dive into the ins and outs of running a full-time real estate investment and wholesaling business.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. My name is Mike DeHaan. I'm here with Dan Austin. How you doing today, Dan?
I am doing good. It's a great Friday.
Been on kid duty today.
Yep. Yeah, kind of been a busy day. It's been triple duty, taking care of my daughter, Livy. But that's fun. So good time. Nice to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably good. I mean, where's the nanny, though, man? You're all successful over here with this business.
I know.
You know, I feel like that's when you're supposed to hire the nanny.
Hey,
be an absent parent, like so many people that we know.
I'm all in on the life assistant. I think the life assistant is a better investment than the nanny because the nanny's like focused on your kid and like you can pay other people to take care of your kid, but someone to take care of the little crap that just you have to do, like call people. I think like I don't know. Yesterday, the day before, I think I was like talking to like people. Like little minute tasks, having to call to organize things for probably 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
Just little
also
stuff.
You want to spend time with your kid though too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a lot of people's, that's why they hire the life assistant so they can, not have to have the nanny anymore.
Right.
Instead they can have, I guess, how do they describe a life assistant at the meetup? Like what, I guess.
I don't know. I didn't pay too much attention to how it was described, but because I think some people might use it differently than I would.
Pay too much attention. You flew all the way down to Florida to not pay attention.
No, I mean, I don't mean that. Like I didn't take too much stake in like how I think it's like however you want. Like I wasn't like, oh, that's how I do it. I just think about like the little stuff that you could have somebody do. And like my daughter's old enough now where like a nanny isn't like she'll take care of herself. Like she learned how to zip her coat herself like 2 weeks ago. So like we're already like, she's almost 18, right? She's self-sufficient. So yeah.
I mean, I guess for modern kids, that might be the new barrier.
Right.
Zip their coat. Oh man, they're ready for college.
Right. But yeah, I mean, just like running around town, like it's weird too. Like, I've been working remotely for a couple of years now and like leaving my house is like a thing. Like I got, I don't know. It's just like a thing. And so like, if you could just have somebody in the morning, bring you the crap you need and have to run around town, make all the phone calls you need. Because there's so many little teeny tasks throughout your day that if you could hand those off, like they're not necessarily worth automating or you can't automate them. But if you could just like push it off onto somebody and they can take care of it.
Yeah. Well, even like dumb stuff, paying your utility bill or like, responding to whatever thing comes in the mail from your bank or whatever, like stuff that you can't quite automate, but it's so easy. I mean, for it to just like sit on your desk and for you to not actually respond to it, you can see why like really successful people have like family offices and that sort of thing.
Yeah. You definitely, I mean, I've got like my line of credit is a pain in the ass to pay. So like they mail me an invoice. And because when I was doing it, I didn't sign up with a bank account or whatever, which was my mistake. And so I need to go there and sign up for a bank account so that I can have it automatically withdraw out of it. So I don't have to worry about paying it. Cause like that line of credit is going to go up and down all the time, right? Depending on what, we're using it for. But then it sits on my desk until I have to absolutely pay it before it's late. And then I have to go there to pay it because it's going to be late. Right. And so it's like, well, if I could just have somebody like call and set this stuff up or take care of it for me, I wouldn't have to do that. I'm talking about, things just sitting on my desk.
Yeah. And not only that with your personal stuff, but now with, all the different entities that we have, you have the same shit come for all the different entities all the time that has their same, monthly tax bill that we have to pay or like the license that we have to renew or whatever. It's funny. You think it's so difficult. Most people think they're so busy with like their own personal stuff. All of a sudden you throw in half a dozen entities on top of that, which all have the same responsibilities.
Yeah.
You can really see how people get into that like messy middle sort of phase of entrepreneurship where you're not like quite a one-man show anymore, but you can't really hire like an admin for $60,000 a year to like handle all your stuff. So things are just kind of, a tornado of nonsense constantly.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like
And
that's why they probably say a lot of small business owners like are a wreck, like as far as like their
yeah,
just organization. It's because there's just so many things to do, and you're always looking at like growing the revenue, right? And you know you have to do the other crap, you just don't do it because you're focused on growing the revenue.
yeah. And then on top of that, you're trying to spend time with your family, do the grocery
Yep.
shopping, have some sort of social life, get some sort of sleep, take care of yourself.
Right.
I think that's one of the things that was a good sort of discussion point at the meetup last week. It was, it's very easy to be really good on like one facet of your life, be that, fitness, family, business, whatever, but you have to let all the other stuff go, like, as a trade-off.
Yep.
Versus, like balancing all those things is really, really challenging. And that's why I see so many people who are like successful business owners or successful athletes or whatever, and then they die when they're like 45 years old because like their health or whatever, everything else just like sort of went sideways on them. But.
Right. So what are you focusing on? Because you're not focusing on fitness, because I know I could beat you in a weightlifting competition.
Get out of here. You can beat me in like a 5K run and that's about it.
Don't even give me that much credit
like
right
a 3-day mountain climb. You beat me on that.
Yeah. Give me anything that takes like just stupidity to just keep pushing yourself. I'll do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you have the background of being an RB Ranger for 7 years or whatever. Like I'm never going to do anything that's as stupid as the shit you guys did out there.
Yeah. But now I'm just an old guy that used to do that.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, either way, that stays with you.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, that's a good question though. I mean, that is a struggle because my focus has been on the business side of things pretty heavily and the financial side of things. And, I'm fortunate that I came into this position with a decent enough, I guess, health and fitness background that like, it's not really work for me to do that, like maintain not being completely useless.
You got a good base,
right?
a good base.
Yeah, a good base, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. A base level of fitness. And then same with like my relationship with my wife, like we have a good base. So it's not really difficult to maintain that.
Sure.
But, I think it's a lot of people that go into struggle with turmoil or like neglecting other parts of their life. That's what
right. Yeah. It doesn't get better. It doesn't make it any better.
I know. Right. It's like people who have like a troublesome relationship and they're like, oh, now we're going to try to have kids to fix it. It's like, you're going to bring an extra stressor into your stressor. It's like, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah. Anyway, it's like I feel like that's new age entrepreneurship is trying to figure out all that to have a better whole life, but it's something that I think is super valuable to people.
Yeah. I saw a video. I can't remember where it was. It was a stupid video, but it was like the dude talking about like why it's so hard to like hire people right now. And he's like, yeah, because people figured out they don't want to work for your dumbass for minimum wage and go and like do a hustle and like make just as much money or have that freedom to have that well-balanced life. And that's like, I was like, that is so true. Like even at $70,000, $80,000 a year job, a lot of people are like, nope, not working for you for that much, Yeah. So,
well, I mean, that brings up a great question. I mean, it is easy to make a general living if you're a put together person and you're a driven person, to be able to pay your bills. Like it's hard to get rich.
Sure.
But if you just like to have, you own a house and you have like a fixed mortgage payment that you can afford, you have your general living expenses. Like, I mean, the average person, average household, like looking at, my wife and I, back before we started inflating our lifestyle a little bit.
Yeah, that happens.
We could live on like, $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month as a household with no kids. Easy. Honestly, we had our mortgage payment was like $1,200 a month. We had spent like, a certain amount on food and we even ate, good. We meal prepped all of our stuff. We didn't eat out an insane amount. For two people to go and hustle and figure out how to make $5,000 a month, honestly, is not difficult.
No, that's not.
Like if you want to do all the gigs and stuff that are out there, you can go drive for Uber, mixed with doing some Rover, mixed with selling some shit on eBay, mixed with, I don't know, what else do people do? Like like TaskRabbit. Do we have that here?
Where people I don't think we have that in Spokane. We need that in Spokane because I could use the hell out of that.
Right. But like, it's not difficult. I mean, back when I got laid off from my development job, right when COVID first started, I was driving for Uber. I was making, $400 a week doing Uber Eats for like a couple hours a day.
It's pretty awesome to be able to make
that's
that.
It's not bad. Yeah. I would drive from 5 to 7 p.m. like pretty much Monday through Saturday. So what's that, like 10 hours, 12 hours? and I'd usually make between $350 to $400, and that's considering my gas cost.
Wow.
So if I did that every single week, what's that? $1,600. And then I used the other 20 hours. No, not quite 20 hours. So I had to sleep. The other 12 hours I had in the day to go and do something else. You could very easily figure out a way to make $1,000 extra bucks a month.
Totally.
But anyway, probably sound like a bunch of rich assholes even saying shit like that, because all the people that we talk to all the time that, have like a household income of $1,200 and there's 3 adults, and I can never figure that out.
Yeah, it's about education, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to, educating yourself on what's beyond kind of the things that you're taught in school. Yeah. There's definitely much more than state-funded education through the public school system and learning how to, I don't know, whatever they try. Well, I don't even know what they're trying to teach you. Math, sciences, all that crap, right? To go get a job. Yeah. Like there's other education. And if you can educate yourself a different way, you're going to be able, that mindset you're talking about, you're going to be able to do that. You're going to be able to go and wholesale 14 houses in a month.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever we did last month. I'm just trying to brag.
Yeah. So you want the actual statistic. Actually, I ran our KPIs yesterday. So since October 1st through yesterday, we've signed 14 contracts.
Perfect.
So that's, just over 2 per week. I mean, we've had a couple go sideways for various reasons. So, out of those 14, we should probably close 10 at the end after it's all said and done. But I mean, honestly, if you look at kind of the nature of this business, that isn't too bad. I think anyone that has a 100% close is probably missing out on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And also too, the situations that we have missed have been pretty extreme situations of,
sorry, my daughter's joining me. She's bringing me some treats for the podcast. Keep me energized. That's just what I need.
But the ones that have gone sides have been pretty extreme situations. Like we had the kidnapping guy. We had the guy that didn't show up for closing. Was that an October one? I don't remember. We had the one where there was basically a tenant was trying to exercise a lease option and sell it to us. And then the owner of the property, who was supposed to be selling to the tenant, decided that they didn't want to follow through with it. So that kind of went sideways. All just outstanding stuff. But, it's going to happen.
Yeah. You can't win them all, but it's good to be, in the game, right? For that many contracts, as opposed to we maybe got one this week or whatever,
Yeah, exactly.
So then if we're going to close 10, I'm just trying to kind of pull the thread on this. Like, what are we looking at as far as revenue goes, you think? Because I think all 10 of those would be, trying to think through of them, if any of them would be a flip for us. Buy and holds.
Well, the 8 unit is a buy and hold.
That would be a buy and hold. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd pull that out.
Outside of those, there'll be what? Do you have a flip in there? We might. I don't remember. I can pull up our thing.
No, because we're going to sell that to our AC manager.
Oh, that's true. Right. Yeah. So out of all the ones that we have, be about, I think what would come down to like $120 in revenue across everything. We have a couple that we haven't assigned yet. So I bet we 120, 140 in revenue, probably.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I can't complain about that for a month. But that is all compounding over the past couple of months, because the reason the month was so crazy was because we spent significant marketing in basically August up until October. Because that was the other thing too, was a lot of these deals that we mailed back in like August.
Yeah.
And we're talking to them for the past several months, and we had the follow-up process and everything like that.
That's kind of what I think, like when talking to people, like new people that are getting into this, is like, you can't just send out a batch of letters and then think you're going to make money that same month. You kind of just have to consistently do it and like have this like expectation, which we didn't when we started, which is like this 90-day expectation. Like if you start today, in 90 days, you'll probably be making money.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You can't just send out the batch and work. What's up?
If you're willing to put in the time, so you could also, light a bunch of marketing money on fire and then not be willing to call people and work the leads. Totally. And that would be a very easy thing to do if you
Yeah. No, and that's what my next point too was, those, like, if you're really into it, like that 90 days, so you drop mail, well, you better be dropping mail that at 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days again. Because if you're just working the leads you get in as they come out from that batch of mail, cool, you got some contracts out of it, but then you're going to wait another 90 days for another contract. we're now in the set where if we're mailing consistently every month, that we're always working those leads as they come in. Sometimes you get the laydowns, right, that are like 2 weeks to contract, but then you have all this backlog of leads that you're able to work, so you can consistently close 5, 6, 7, 10 deals a month.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, I think our average time of a contact to contract is still about 40 days. So,
Not bad.
when they first call us, it takes just over a month, which, when you're starting out feels like an eternity because you need the money so badly.
Right. And
But
that's
then once you
to,
have
is that to, that's to close or to contract?
that's the contract.
Yeah.
That's not
So
even
that's, I
close.
guess
So
that's where
after
I'm coming up
that,
with the 90 days, because you got another 30 on top of that, 75. So
yeah, exactly. So, it takes 3 months to start getting any money back, but
Yep.
you don't have any money and you're dropping $5,000-$6,000 on marketing. That feels like
Right.
a really long time.
Absolutely. But I also think that you made a good point too about, we dropped some of the biggest batch we've done, but the fruits of that are showing. And it kind of shows that, hey, if you're working your leads properly, the more money you spend on marketing, it's pretty likely that you're going to make more money.
Yeah, exactly. Even though it can vary, and,
Sure.
and every time that we do it, even still, it feels like I'm, pulling the lever on the giant slot machine,
Right.
but it keeps rolling around. It hasn't failed us so far. But
Yeah. Can't complain.
yeah, it all kind of bids up, and it always seems to be too that if it's raining, it's pouring.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like there's times like even like I was talking to James, our act guy. We went to lunch the other day, and it's like last week was like super slow, but the week before it was slammed, and this week is slammed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but there's no difference. There's no new mail that hit. It was basically just like everyone gets ready to go at the same time for some reason. I don't know why.
Something happens out there in the cosmos. I don't know
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, full
But,
moon. We start checking the
yeah.
moon cycles.
Right.
Probably something that's lining
Yeah.
up with people.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how like December goes as we get into the holidays, because everybody talks about it slowing down, but I mean I feel like we're in our groove too, to see like what does that look like, if we're going to actually like have a dead month, or people are still ready to sell, because I feel like last year we were still contracting stuff throughout the holiday time frame. Like,
Yeah,
it
we
wasn't
got some
like
of our
crazy
best
dead.
ones.
Yeah.
We got some of our best ones last year. We got the Montgomery duplex.
Yeah.
We got the Cedar flip. We got both those in December last year, right before Christmas.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So,
and I think Hutchinson we got like November, didn't we? Because I don't think we started rehabbing that until.
Yeah, we like October, November.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So anyway,
Good time to sell.
Yeah, exactly. But I know when we were going through some of our leads today, I kind of had this moment of what's the right word? It's like almost like reflection, or like it was almost like a little bit of depression that came up as we were looking through our different stuff, and it's like how shitty some of these properties are, and the fact that there are people, and they are all occupied, that there are property owners out there that put tenants in some of these properties and like just allow them to live that way.
Yeah.
And like we were kind of talked about it after our meeting this morning. I was like, this is why, people think that the states should regulate landlords, because they're living in like the worst possible living environments you can imagine, because the landlord just refused to take care of their properties, and the thing crazy. And it's so crazy. And the thing that fucking sucks about it is those are always the ones that like the impossible contracts to get, because the people are freaking greedy, and they're like, oh no, I'm not selling this property. It's like, I have some family pinned in here that has no choice to go anywhere because they have no credit, and I'm just going to basically let them live in this filth and run the house into the ground, and it sucks because then like that goes out in the news. Everyone's like, oh, we need to regulate landlords. Then you look at like all of our places, which are all nice and dialed in. We got good families and all of them, good tenants and all of them. It's like, yeah, no one's going to complain about that, but we're going to get slapped with the same BS.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's super frustrating. And for you to call house shitty is pretty big, because I feel like all the dealers are like, this is a great deal. I'm like, that's kind of shitty. But we still make it work.
They've all worked out so far.
They've all worked out. Yeah. But some of those photos, it was just like, come on, are you kidding me? Like, how do you even allow that to happen?
Yeah.
Like a hole in the roof.
Yeah. Well, that's what James said. The guy at one of the houses was like, yeah, there's a big hole in the side of the house and there's animals living in there and we can hear them every night. And then you look at the exterior of this photo and there's of this property and there's these huge holes in it everywhere, like all the siding stripped off. There's like water damage, there's mold, and there's like 3 units in this thing with these people that are
Ugh.
just stuck there because, they can't go anywhere else, and it's like, yeah, you don't want to necessarily fix up the money, fix up with the money. There's no upside, but still they let it get to that position in the
Yep.
first place.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like we own quite a few properties. I just can't imagine one of our properties getting that bad.
No,
And that's also
no.
why I'm like pro, like fix the problems up front. I know a lot of folks that want to try to get into property as little as possible. But if you can buy it at a discount, you can still burr most, if not all, your money out of it. You're still ahead. And so if
Yeah.
you have a little bit of siding issue, like repair it because that will get bad. If you have a roof issue, repair it because it's just like it compounds over the years. Cause like, I don't know about you, but once we get it stabilized, like I don't think about a property, right?
Yeah.
Like it just
Yeah.
keeps going, right? Unless, obviously the work that you got to do to keep the lights on and all that sort of stuff. But like, I haven't thought about Hutchinson in a while, like other than
Yeah.
wanting to kick out the one dude tenant so we could raise rents and remodel that unit so we could raise rents on it just because that's a better ROI for us. But
at the same time, I mean, we kind of leave them in there because the unit's fine.
yep.
The guy needs somewhere to go. It's not causing any problems.
Mm-hmm. Pays every
And like
month.
yeah, exactly. And it's a decent unit at the end of the day.
Yep.
Like honestly, for us to want to adjust it would be a better financial decision. Like, like big picture, I guess. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's a nice place. And like, honestly, I don't know where else that guy would go. So we'll just leave it.
Yeah. I don't know either.
Whereas I feel like what a lot of other landlords do is they would either kick him out and be like, cool, not my problem. I need the extra couple $100 a month. Or what they would do is they would just let it go into squalor because the guy's underpaying, which I mean, that's what the previous owner did before we bought it.
Yeah.
Too. That place was, decently rough before we picked it up. Put a whole new roof on that thing.
Yep.
But I know it's just super fascinating. Some of the stuff's just crazy. And down in Knoxville too, the slumlords are a whole nother level. That place,
some of those pictures are bad.
They're so bad. This is like the freaking kitchen. It looks like the Rainforest Cafe in there with all the mold hanging down from the ceiling. And there's people that live there. James went and offered that dude $8,000 for that house today.
Did he say yes?
No, I don't think so. But I was like, you can't save the house. Like the houses aren't worth that much. And like you look at the paper trail, the guys own the house for like 15 years. There's no way it's been like that the whole time.
Is he a local investor or out of town investor?
It looks like he's local. I mean, all their mailing stuff is in town there.
Wow. Well, I guess that goes to I don't remember, we were talking about a while ago, is like, oh, down here we just make them nice enough and throw people in it.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, that one guy that we talked to, exactly. That was he was kind of saying is they basically buy it and you fix up like one thing so that you can sell it to the next person. Because remember, I forget where that property was, but you could see the transactions. Like one person had bought it for 6,000, one person had bought it for like 9,000, one had bought it for 15. The guy recently bought it for 18. He was trying to sell it to us for like 22. I'm like, why? Like, and the place was like not livable.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Some of those places too, you're just like, how I can't even fathom it. Like that's a possibility that someone would live there, because like there's still nicer units that would rent for the same amount of money. But some people also, like the tenants in some cases too, choose to live in those areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You heard my opinion on this, which is like, hey, I feel like they should hire some city inspectors. And if there's a landlord that's got a house like that, you should put a lien on it. Like, don't screw me over, because I'm a good landlord, but go after those dudes that are buttholes. Cause it's not just about the tenants. Like, yeah, that's one thing, but it's about the neighborhoods, especially if you own that shitty house in my neighborhood where it's bringing down my property values and everybody else's property values around them. And it's also a risk. And it brings in people like squatters because they're like, nobody cares about this house, right? And they just start doing weird stuff.
Yeah.
And then letting animals live in the damn ceiling, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a whole other dilemma too, is then you get the bad tenants in there. Like sometimes you do have a decent landlord, but then you have bad tenants. Although I feel like if you have an on top of it landlord, you very rarely have bad tenants. And except for the situations that we see where there's like an older landlord who is just like way too trusting with people.
Yeah.
But then you have some of them, like a lot of the houses are trashed by the tenants because when the tenant moves in, the house is already trashed. So they're not going to take care of it. When they're in there, it's like, if you get a rental car and the rental car's all beat to shit, are you going to care if you like wing the door on something as you're driving around like a parking garage? No,
of course not.
But if they gave you one that's in like great shape and you like whack the door on the side of the parking garage, you open it up, you'll be a little bit more cognizant of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a very good point.
Yeah, I don't know, they do some weird stuff. But yeah, James went through the other one today. They called me. The basement was full of dog and cat shit, and he was there with like a realtor that like hadn't seen the house yet, and basically people were like, oh yeah, so this cash buyer's gonna come look at it. If we can't agree on a price with them, then we're gonna use you to list it. And the realtor like walked in the house and immediately started like dry heaving because it smelled so bad. And like literally the entire basement had a layer of cat and dog shit everywhere. And there are people living in here, right? And this exact situation is there's the crappy landlords who have this property in like a nice little cul-de-sac, and this property has like a tarp instead of a garage door. It has like, the windows are all busted, and there's tenants in here. And I'm like, what came first, the property or the tenant?
Right. How do you how do you live with the poop? James is probably in there. He's like looking at the realtor. I can just imagine. He's like, oh, this ain't bad. Don't worry about it.
That's exactly what he did. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. People are, I don't know what the right word for that is. Terrible. I don't know. Something.
Yeah. Well, and it makes it's a tough, it's a human problem on both sides,
right.
Because like, and I don't know, you can point fingers at one way or the other, and depending on, I think, kind of what position you're in, you'll side with one side or the other. Like all the tenants always think that it's the landlord's fault. The landlord always thinks the tenant's fault.
Right.
And it leads into this big circle that kind of just comes down to, everything ending poorly, but then the regulators obviously not going to go after the people that don't have any money. They're going to go after the landlords who are, fortunate enough to have the properties, and we're the ones that end up getting slapped, like having to do inspections or all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
And you're starting to see that places too. At the few properties I own in Minnesota, you're required to get an inspection once a year and have a license to be a landlord over there.
What is the cost of the inspection?
It's not a lot. It's like $20.
Oh, it's pretty cheap.
It's an extra $20 a year that you got to pay, and then they come out and they basically look at your property. Or you have to have you can get it waived, but you still have to pay for the license fee if you have a property management company. But if you're like a mom and pop landlord over there, you have to get inspected by the city once a year to make sure your property is decent.
That's reasonable, as long as they don't like walk through the property and just look at like, well, the electrical's up to code and the plumbing's not leaking. Like, as long as they're like, hey, this is a pile of crap house. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're not renting it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or, I mean, it could go two ways, right? Because there could be either, I feel like there could be a situation if they're going through and they're like, oh, there's chipped paint on the baseboards.
Right.
You can't rent this house.
Yeah.
It's got to be perfect. Or it could be the situation where the house is terrible and they're like, well, it's functional, so we're just like going to let it slide. And that creates like another problem altogether.
Yeah. What would be interesting though is like, there's no way to do this. Anytime the government gets involved, it gets too bureaucratic and bullshit. But like, if they had an inspector that, like had like the same neighborhood or same 100 houses or something, right? And so they could see if there's, degradation over a period of time, and then like see if something's going on. Cause that's kind of what it seems like happens sometimes, is like tenant decides that they're going to be a meth head halfway through their lease. And then they're all of a sudden they're ripping shit out of the walls, and the landlord's been cruising on this thing for a while and he has no idea. Right. And then they stop paying and all sorts of stuff happens, and you go in there and you're like, oh man, now the house is a piece of crap. Landlord rents it to some other meth head because that's the next willing and paying person to live in a shithole.
Yeah.
It's like,
or the tenant leaves, or like, yeah, exactly. Weird stuff happens. Like there's that one that we walked with Homefront last year, that basically the guy had bought it. He'd rented it out to a couple that was like all checked out. And then the husband, they like went to jail. Okay. And the landlord wasn't the owner. So then the wife got a new boyfriend who moved into the house. The new boyfriend, who wasn't on the lease, kicked the wife out of the house. And then the house basically became a revolving door of prostitutes. Like that never stopped.
Oh man.
But it's like you can't predict that.
No.
Wow. So
man, we are like really in the depths of property ownership right now.
Oh. Well, then like the shit, you can't make up the stories.
You can't, but it's surprising. Like in this business, the first thing I was surprised with is like just about how many people live like just weird. That I don't know, scummy, gross. Even in a nice neighborhood, affluent neighborhoods, even if they make good money, they're still disgusting in the way they live and take care of their home. Like they don't clean them or whatever it is, right? It's just surprisingly the population. I don't know. What do you think? Like 30% of America is like that, based
Probably
on the
more than
number of
that,
houses
honestly.
we've seen here? Because it's not just our market. We've got 2 markets that we're marketing in, and we see the same shit down there.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're exactly right too. Even like the good neighborhoods. So we've been to places where like both adults in the house and they have kids have like high paying jobs and like everything about them put together, but their house is just an absolute disaster.
Ugh, yeah.
With like, major maintenance issues, like packed, like stacked high piles of food everywhere, huge piles of garbage. And it's like in like, an A-class neighborhood. And from the outside, you can it doesn't look bad because they obviously can afford professional landscaping
Right.
service, but they
Yeah.
never got the shower leak fixed upstairs. And now it's all, a rainforest of mold to grow in their kid's bedroom. But yeah, super interesting. I don't know. Maybe we just sound spoiled. I don't know. It's the risk.
Quite possibly, but I don't think that's the case. I just, yeah.
So anyway, fascinating. That was a quick 30 minutes. That kind of hits our time there. Any good lessons learned this week?
Yeah, just like, I don't know if this is a lesson, and maybe I'm repeating myself, but on some of the stuff, like from the business standpoint, like having that admin assistant type person to do stuff. Like I was just trying to organize, telling you talk about taxes, like, how many properties we have and the tax payments and all that stuff, and trying to figure out a good way to track that and automate that so that like there's like a good single point of contact to go back and look at things and the different things we pay for, like usernames and passwords, how many of those I've got stacked up on a piece of paper, and trying to figure that out. Like I'm trying to set it all up to have somebody else do it in the event that happens. But there's a lot of little detailed stuff that catches up to you. I spent most of the week dealing with a lot of that crap and switching bookkeepers. I don't know what the lesson there is, but maybe it's like interview like 5 bookkeepers and ask them questions about real estate. Cause this is our 3rd bookkeeper. I don't know. Like, and they don't last very long, and I have learned more than they know about it. And so I was telling you earlier this week, like I should not open that up, the QuickBooks, and get immediately stressed out.
Yeah.
Like I should just be able to go in there and pull reports instead of me having to like fix the bookkeeper's mistakes and be like, what are you doing?
That's literally 100% the opposite of what a bookkeeper. In fact, the bookkeeper should be sending you the reports so what's going on with your business. You don't have to think about it anymore.
Exactly. And I don't have to be like, how come you didn't do it like the rest of the books? Like, why is that property vastly different in the accounts than all the other like 8 that are in there right now?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So did you fire them?
Yeah. 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 And our new bookkeeper is like $15 an hour cheaper. So
perfect. Is that the one in Spokane?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know if they're good yet, but I told them, I was like, hey, by the way, we're firing our bookkeeper. I know I was supposed to meet with you on Tuesday, but how about this? What do you charge per hour? Can you send me a Zoom link so we can chat? So we're going to do that, and I can kind of quiz him and see what's going on. The tough thing is a lot of times the accountant is like, oh yeah, we got a good bookkeeper, and the accountants kind of know what they're doing, generally speaking, but then they hand you off to their bookkeeper, and their bookkeepers are not as savvy.
Yeah. So. Yeah, for sure. Well, we figured out, because I got to get all my books figured out too, because our old ones are still doing mine. And I just did a bunch of refis this week, and it's going to completely change everything. And I don't even want them to touch it. I want them to be done.
Yeah.
And I can just have the new people set it up, and I can just move on.
Yeah, you're going to have some wacky stuff if you do that. Because I can't even change it, because I'm like, I don't even know the logic to what they did here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But this is like a well-established like bookkeeping firm. It's not like fly by the night stuff that we're using. So it's just surprising. And sometimes I think it's also that they're charging you to train people, and the bookkeeper that we're using, like the one that's like not the boss, but the one that's on our books, definitely does not scream, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, I think also too, as you found over and over again, something like that, it's a specific type of knowledge that we need for our business.
Right.
Versus, if we were like selling widgets, it's
Mhm.
very different. It's much
Totally.
simpler.
Way easier.
It's just money in, money out. But with this, we're doing the depreciation, the debt pay down, the appreciation of the assets. There's the CapEx expenses versus the maintenance versus the different kinds of income we have. Because our rental income is taxed differently than our, wholesale and flip income. It just creates a fiasco of problems. I think the average bookkeeper can't figure out, but
Nope.
nonstop. Yeah. This is why, if anyone wants to be a business owner, they think it's easy, or you make, they think business owners don't justify the fat money that they can make compared to employees. It's like, because we spend our nights and weekends thinking about this shit.
Yeah.
And paying people stupid amounts of money. So like, I look at this bookkeeper, we're going to have wasted probably $6,000 or $7,000 paying them to do stuff that we're going to have to completely redo now.
Yeah, that's the other point of my conversation with the new bookkeeper is like, hey, dude, I just paid a buttload of money to reconcile these books. And I know you weren't the person that did it, but like, how can we make this a little easier on the old pocketbook here? Because I can't pay that same amount for you to reconcile things.
Exactly.
I just want you to set it up and automate it, and I'll do what I need to do to keep it going.
Yeah. Makes sense. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Good place to stop, I think. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can follow us at Collecting Keys Podcast on Instagram. It's a little slow over there still as we're getting everything set up. We'll have our website here pretty soon at collectingkeyspodcast.com. You can follow me directly on Instagram at Mike_invests. You can follow Dan at InvestorManDan. Go ahead and send us a DM over there. And then besides that, if you guys could subscribe and give us a review, good review. You can keep your bad reviews to yourself. Good review on wherever you listen to your podcast.
No bad reviews.
Appreciate it. And see you guys next week.
Yep. Catch you all later.
Thanks for listening. Please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out at collectingkeyspodcast.com for tips and guides on starting your own real estate investment and wholesaling business.